Okay, hello and welcome back to Company of Heroes 3. So, I've had a few looks at this game at this point, and today I'm going to begin a bit of my first impressions, having played both the multiplayer testing, sort of multiplayer, I think test, I forget exactly what they've called it, the test something, but it's basically the beta. Tech test, that's what they've been calling it, the multiplayer tech test. Yeah, it's basically the open beta that's been on over the past half a week or so, and prior to that I've played the first leg of the campaign in Italy, showing off the new campaign mechanics. I've just set up a little game here, some standard AI on the custom mode. I've locked it up here. We're just going to have an 8v8, we're going to play as Britain. I'm just going to set up some artillery at the back and see if I can derp around for about 30-40 minutes, not really do much. Just lend a bit of a hand to the AI and hopefully they'll just kind of win it for me while I kind of have a bit of a discussion here about the game. So I should hopefully not have to focus much here as I chat. So, a few points I want to cover in this, and just kind of what I think the game's like, how it's been performing, any issues I might have had, whether you should maybe be considering buying it, how it compares to previous games and so on. So, there are a lot of similarities between Company Heroes. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's very similar to Company Heroes 2, and subsequently it's similar to Company Heroes 1 as a result. So, but you'd expect it. I mean, it's a sequel, for heaven's sake. You know, it's a sequel to a game. Do you expect it to be wildly different? I mean, we know how that worked out with Dawn of War 3. They got these lofty ideas in their head, and it did not go well. I think what you have to keep in mind here, as far as I can tell really, is that Relic has changed hands a few times from THQ. It's lost a lot of developers. They've had to slim down a lot in that time. It's been reduced to making Age of Empires for Microsoft, so kind of doing work for other companies rather than making their own stuff anymore. So they've done that for a bit, and good for them. They've actually made it. I mean, you can see it on the splash screens that show up at the beginning of the game. It's the 25th anniversary now, so they've been around a while, but they've managed to weather the storm that was the closing of their publisher THQ that owned their company as well, and they're now under, I believe, Sega at the moment. But it's not been the greatest of time for them, so to keep that in mind. And with that in mind, they've since made Age of Empires 4 and Dawn of War 3. So that's kind of the history covering the game up to this point. So that's where Relic is at the moment as a company. So they're having a hard time of it. COVID's hit as they've been making this most likely, and somehow they've come out of the back of it with this. Now, I've chosen this map in particular on 4v4 because I think this is one of the better maps that really showcases the game looking at its best. You know, it's all war-torn, there's wrecks here, there's smouldering ruins and burnt out forests and things. And they've definitely seemed to have taken a lot of things from different games that they've been making up to this point. Like the idea here of this resource cache that improves the resource gain and gives the resource capture point a bit of defense against attackers. That's from Dawn of War 1. I'm telling you now, it were a listening post. This mechanic is from Dawn of War 1. They've brought it back for Company Heroes 3. So you've got things like that are back. They've got, I think, just about every faction now can build some kind of bunker. You might need to pick up a specific commander, but they can all seem to build bunkers and things. I mean, actually, I'm just wondering if the British can. They might not be. Oh no. I think there might not be one as the British unless it's a specific battle group, actually. I know with the Americans you can make fighting positions. The Africa Corps, if they take the Italian infantry, can get them. as a commander ability. Ooh, this will be rough for us here. Got a lot of infantry coming in there. We're probably going to need some assistance from these. I should probably pull this unit back and get some more men down. Right, but on that note, so we've got all this, talk about, well, is it any good? And the first thing that I've heard a lot of people saying is, well, it is the graphics. One thing I've heard people say is just this generic, it's cartoony. I mean, what does it even mean, cartoony? And to me, it means that it looks a bit not as realistic as it should. Is typically what it means. Now, I don't think I can actually pause it in closed custom lobbies at the moment. I think that's campaign only. So, but we can zoom in here, and you can see there's quite a lot of detail on the soldiers here. We've got little canteens, little pouches, these things on the back. I can. It's pretty good. You can see it sparking up bullets going off, the traces. You can see all equipment off. You can tell these are Royal Engineers because they've got all their entrenching gear on their backs. Yeah. Same here. We've got some gear on the backs and stuff. Well, they're the American Engineers. So, you know, and I can see shell casings coming out of the guns there. Yeah, it's not an undetailed game. You know, and this idea of, well, it looks very clean, I've heard. It looks clean. Well, what map are you playing? That would be my question. Because the thing is, there aren't too many maps that are completely war-torn like this. Now, this is a very cool-looking war-torn barren map with craters and things. But even on a clean map, remember that the environment's very destructible. Not many games are doing that these days. Like, craters dynamically get created as mortars and shells hit. We've gone with the artillery as well. We're going to test that theory to the... We're going to put that theory to the test later on here. Which I think we'll want to start going towards it. Let's get, yeah, heavy mortar. We'll help our allies out with a few mortars, shall we? We've got some infantry sections. And we'll just capture that. And it is though, it's... So I'm hearing that it's clean. It's like, well, is it a problem? You can destroy the battlefield. Build some artillery if you want to make it a bit messy. You know, that would be my answer. But graphics-wise, you look at the game and this is not bad. These graphics are not bad. Yeah. This grass isn't just completely painted on. You can see they've actually gone and put some 2D sprites on there that wave about in the wind. You know, you can see the details here, you know. Oh, we need to pull those back. Sorry if I'm a bit distracted while playing the game as well here. It's not going to be my best gameplay in the world. Right. But yeah, so we get that. And honestly, I think it's people are nitpicking about it, you know, and the sound design, well, it's not as good. It's not as, it's like, I think, you know, it's like the previous. Well, it sounded a lot louder. It sounded, and that kind of brings me to a point here. It's worth keeping in mind that artillery and things are less prevalent in the game. Tanks tend to come at the very late game, so you know the booming sounds of battle don't really kick in till later is the thing. But I digress. There are, of course, things that are genuinely missing. You know, there's things like, for example, one thing I've noticed here is that, well, we'll watch here. Notice the units, so they're getting some fire. Ah, no, they're dying, actually. Not many are dying here, actually. These will probably go in a second. Now, unfortunately, we need to kind of catch some as it happens. But let's see if we can perhaps get a few here. can get line of sight on those units. Oh, we need to pull that from there. But yeah, one thing that... I mean, it's not awful. Now we can see here a dying soldier, right? This is one thing I noticed, that soldiers do still die, but you don't get the same deaths as in 2. Like, the bodies stay there, but not for ages, and, you know, you don't see them crawling along the floor. They're just kind of, you know, while they're screaming, and you can still, like, target them and shoot them like in 2. Oh, infantry over here, we need to deal with that. Oh, the AI is doing a terrible job of holding that centre point. We'll try and just hold this entire bottom section to hopefully ease their burden, but they're not doing a good job. But yeah, as you can see, they are still there, and they do kind of do a little death animation. It's not as... yeah, sometimes they're just ragdoll. It's not as crazy and over the top as 2. I will admit that much. But again, you have to keep in mind, this has been developed during COVID by a cut-down development team that's been a bit ropey since Dawn of War 3, really.
We're losing a fuel point.
Let's try and rotate this a little bit.
Squad's gone.
Ooh, we are getting a rough time of it here. Come on, mortar, do your job. So, overall, the graphics, I think it's certainly an improvement. I will admit it's not crazy in comparison to previous games. It's not like, whoa, the difference is absolutely insane.
Lord, we've just lost our CMP truck.
So yeah, it's not crazy in comparison, you know, in terms of the graphical difference, but it is there. It is there, it is noticeable. I think the complaints about, you know, from people saying, oh, it's not as gritty and things, I think it's a nitpick, to be honest. I think people are looking to just find something wrong with it so they can complain. I honestly can't tell you much. There are little things that are missing, but I'm going to leave it there with, you know, graphical fidelity. Looking at the... and I'll after this, I think I'll just bring up a few screenshots of previous games and you can judge for yourself. If you say that there's no graphical difference, I think you're blind, to be fair, but... your opinion and your eyesight is your own. I shan't tell you your eyes are lying to you, but... I do begin to suspect. Now, gameplay-wise, though, I think this is... it's a nice improvement from 2. Artillery is far less prevalent. That's the number one thing you need to... first thing you're going to notice. Artillery is just so less prevalent in this, for the better. In the previous game, holy hell was artillery a thing, especially on the snowy maps, where they could just... I mean, you could throw a grenade at a tank, and if it were on a iced up lake, it were gone. That's it. Wow, it looks like the AI has really not done a good showing here. Right, we need to kind of try and make up for this. Right. Balance-wise with the factions, the Africa Corps tend to be a nasty early game rushing force. Right? They just are. They're early game rush. The Americans are decently early game rush, but they can hold their own in the mid game. So they're kind of a mix. And this is kind of the theme of both the factions, really. Like the Axis and the Allies, they both have. So the US are better in the early game, the British are better in the late. With the Germans, oh damn! Just as he says, artillery isn't as crazy. I knew that was an air raid, so I guess it doesn't really count, but still. Hell. Performance-wise, it's not bad. It should probably be running a bit better than this on my system, though I will admit, I can't really speak much to performance. My graphics drivers are like, I think the last time I updated them were probably back in the autumn sometime, so they probably do with a rejig, and it's not released yet. And I have got it on like max settings, so it's doing alright. Oh damn. But yeah, the gameplay, it's a lot slower than last time. For the better. Your squads don't just get poofed into non-existence. Like, they don't hit you with a flamethrower, kill immediately 3 or 4 guys, and leave you with nothing. Again, you can kind of tell what I mean here with the bodies. Like, they don't just. Some of them do little death animations like that. There are still the dying soldiers on the battlefield. It's not as well done as 2. We should probably get that grenade package as well. We've probably been lacking that for a little too long here. But yeah, it's gameplay though. So you're not just getting like that unit would have been dead on Company Heroes 2. They would be dead. Now I get the chance to retreat them. This unit would probably be dead. I'll retreat them now just so it kind of hold this in place a little bit longer, and then we can actually hit it with an anti-tank grenade. Like, one of those shells would have wiped a squad previously. So it's not as crazy with area of effect damage as previously. Artillery is less prevalent. There's not Katyushas just literally blanketing the battlefield with death. As crazy as it was in the campaign and in versus missions with each other. Right, well, as crazy as it was in the campaign and in versus AI lobbies, I know that a lot of people got frustrated in the player versus player lobbies due to the sheer amount of arty spam sometimes that are just literally level an army, and just it takes me back to to Dawn of War 3 where, you know, a hero would show up and just drop like a nuke on your base. You know, flaming Warhound Titan shows up and literally just shreds your entire base. You know, your entire army goes out, and it's just like, well, these bullets would definitely kill infantry. Let's see, how large is the blast radius? Oh, half of the map. Well, I'm just going to kill the entire army then, with this one single ability. Good luck. And it takes you, 10 minutes to rebuild the troops. I can remember on Dawn of War 3 I would build like 2 or 3 buildings to produce troops when I was playing that for the brief time I did. But everything said, so the balance is actually so far alright. I've played as each faction. You can see me videos on each. Like Like I say, Africa Corps, early games rush, US are more balanced, British and Wehrmacht are more late game. The feeling seems to be the Axis are more pronounced in what they're good and bad at. Like, the Africa Corps are really, really good at the late game. They are obnoxiously good at late game. They are stupid good. They get Tiger tanks. They just get a bunch of panzers pouring out of the base. It's absolutely ridiculous to have to deal with it. But then the Africa Corps are just light tanks from start to finish at the beginning of the game. Like, you are just within minutes going to be facing light tanks. Shortly after, things like assault guns and elite infantry with flamethrowers and things, and bunkers coming out and that. Oh, that was a hell of a thing. Well, like, even here, I get a chance to maneuver out of the way of that. You know, I don't just... Holy hell, that's a... Okay, I guess it goes after your squad. So there are still some things that do just eviscerate you, it seems, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Nowhere near. And again, the balance seems to be so far so not bad. On about missing features, one thing I would say is, now there are features that are missing. There's a few that I've noticed. With things stuff like with things such as weather effects, though I don't think many people were a fan of these. But yeah, things like weather effects are no longer there. Not only that, but well, so yeah, things like how there were deep snow and deep mud, and it'd slow units that were passing through and act as like the reverse of being in cover. So it's like you're in the open, basically. So that's no longer really a thing. And it looks like we've kind of pushed them back a bit here. They've sort of worn themselves out against our defences here, and we're kind of beginning to push them back here, but we'll see how long that lasts. The base building, I wish I could kind of rotate this before I placed it, because they're a bit obnoxious to place, so that'd be a nice little quality of life thing to have.
Our infirmary is being attacked. Royal Engineers trained and ready to go.
Royal Engineers reporting in.
Shit, mate! Yours, oh, those blisters, you shit!
Get them, come on lads, get that grenade on there.
Jerry got one of our squads. Shit, mate! Damn!
But yeah, as you can see here on like the higher settings, I'm getting a bit of frame rate issues. I wonder if I can just kind of lower those. But as you can see, yeah, I'm kind of running it on the higher settings.
Infantry section killed.
Just change it to that for now. That might. Well, again, I will admit my drivers are a bit out of date at the moment, but
We're losing a fuel point.
CC's up.
oh yeah, there you went. Okay. Right, this is what I was wanting to mess around with. So, missing features. So yeah, the weather effects are kind of just gone as far as I can tell. And that is something that is kind of missing. I think, generally speaking, but I think really, other than like the performance could be a bit better. I had 2 major crashes, one during the campaign and one during multiplayer, where it stalled my graphics card briefly and it just closed the game. I restarted it and I was fine. I was towards the end of a multiplayer match, so it wasn't an overly enormous deal, but I'm assuming that there'll probably be bug fixes and performance improvements for the end of everything here, most likely, before it releases. Right, let's see what we can get set up then.
Sappers reporting.
We're going to need someone to kill those tanks. It's probably going to be some guards units. Right. Damn. But again, it's... I think graphics-wise, another thing I've been hearing from people is that there's not battle damage on the tanks. It's like, oh, well, it looks too pristine. It looks like it's just rolled out of the factory. I mean, it has. There's the factory it's rolling out of right now. Joking aside, though, as they get damaged, you do get battle damage on them, like shell impacts and stuff. I think it's the same texture that just gets pasted on. But, I mean... honestly, FPS games have been doing that with bullets for decades. And I don't think it's just like a smeared on texture, it's more of a... looks like there's a bit of... yeah, like you can see it appearing there. We've got a little shell mark there, there's a few shell marks there, in comparison to one that doesn't have any. Right.
A section of guards being deployed.
There we go, we've got a wreck, it's got all the little shell impacts, this has got all shell impacts on it, it's getting hit. So they do take actual battle damage, and you look at the previous ones and it's like, oh well, but they had... I think they did have somewhere, very briefly, after they'd been hit, they would have a shell impact texture on where the damage hit, and it'd be like a sort of... almost like a big bullet hole with like a smouldering orange outline around it, as if the metal was still hot and then it'd cool down, so to speak. I remember something along those lines was present in the second one. They still have battle scarring on the tanks. I mean, you can see it clearly. They've still got the ammo cook-offs. The guy looks like he's clipped through the cupola there a bit with the ragdolling, but I mean, lots of games have issues with ragdolling, but bad time for it to happen there. Bad timing. There we go. And this with all the skirts falling off and everything, that wasn't a thing in 2, I can tell you that much. Yeah? The skirts and everything just blasting off as it died. That was not a thing in 2. The main difference between this and number 2, though, the main reason why I would say, why, if you were asking me why do you get this, honestly, it has been... I think it'll be closing in on a decade by the time this comes out, since Company of Heroes 2, right? And Relic are clearly desperately trying to recuperate after what happened with Dawn of War 3. They've clearly taken a bit of a knock. So they're not doing too hot right now, a Relic. Right, let's see if we can get... oh, we don't click on there, we'll click on here while we've got the engineers selected. You'll notice as well the reach of this artillery is... ridiculous is an understatement. We're going to put some over here. While we're at it, Reduce reinforcement cost and time. We'll go with Valor, Gurkhas,
Fight with valor, Commander, no matter the cost.
and Pillage. Why not?
Infantry will pillage anything they need from the enemy.
But yeah, as I said, the whole like war-torn thing, these weren't there at the start of the game, you know? I think I might know what's causing the frame rating issues actually. It's definitely the particle effects. Like this is going down as I look at the particle effects. Yeah. But well, I admit that's some pretty good particle effects. It's got like all the heat distortion around it. Right, we've got some bazooka squads here. We can do something about these trucks.
What's the task?
Right, we're ready. Let's get these artillery emplacements set up. And we're just going to let the AI do the work. As I just build a bunch of artillery. And have a bit of fun. So, yeah, genuinely,
What should we do next? Move it! Private! Private!
Don't get distracted.
there are a lot of nice little quality of life improvements. Like some things that I've noticed. Units will automatically vault obstacles now. Previously you'd order them to do that, and they'd all do it at the same point. So that then if any... if a grenade came in while you were vaulting a wall or something, holy hell would that be painful for your casualty rates. Not good. So a lot of things around like air effect damage, the prevalence of artillery, your base just automatically, it can be toggled to auto reinforce squads that are nearby, and most of the bases have upgrades for medical, like hospital buildings to go next to them. Just all nice touches, so it kind of automates the process of regrouping and reinforcing your troops. You just have to remember to press the retreat button really now. And we need to pull back from here. Right, let's move this artillery over onto this. Let's show you some of this battle scarring that I'm on about, how you can morph the map to be what you want it to be if you want. So we've got this firing here. As we can see, we're going to see a lot of big explosions on here now. Damn. And as you can see, it does scar the battlefield, it craters things, it does an absolute number on the stuff it hits. Artillery is still very much devastating. There's just less of it now. And the best bit is, it really is artillery. Like if I hover over this barrage ability, look at the range. And this is one of the large maps. Look at the goddamn range of that. The AI on the enemies seems to be improved. I mean, as you can see there, they're using recovery vehicles. They seem to be keeping this offensive on a lot better on us. They've not just... I remember previously in Company Heroes 2, like if you got in this situation, you could just build a bunch of anti-tanks. They would eventually just lob panzers into your base, and then you'd probably win. Difficult to do against expert AI. You would have issues then. Oh dear. Run! Right, that's firing on me. So they're even doing counter artillery and everything. We'll hit that.
The enemy has claimed a sector. Infantry section killed.
But yeah, the game is, again, there's lots of these nice little quality of life things. Again, apologies for my sloppy play here. I am not really focused on the game. We might be able to kill that before we die. If you want to see some actual gameplay where I'm not terrible against some actual players, go and watch the look at the multiplayer test or the campaign. And on the note of the campaign as well, like if you're looking for the reason, like why would you buy this and not just play Company of Heroes 2 more, like here's a good list of things that it gets just nails. Like this will have mod support to start with. There will be 4 factions at the beginning. You do not have to pay extra for them, not like Company Heroes 2. They're not DLCs, they're not getting added later. They're available at launch. No funny business. All the factions and everything. They're still doing this battle group thing that's kind of like the replacement of the... So replacement to the commander system from 2. I don't particularly like either. I'd rather them just gut the whole thing and just let me have access to all of the toys in the box, rather than partitioning them off into different groups and what have you. Or maybe just give me a tech tree where I get these command points and I can then just get whatever whenever from a selection, you know. But all of that said, oh, he is not having a good day. Goodbye. So, but the main big difference, again, so mod support, factions at launch, all of it's there, bunch of maps. This will be interesting to watch. Oh, red mist there. Saying that it's not gory and battle scarring and gritty, I think that's someone's innards. Oh, there's some, yeah. Yeah, you can still do war crimes. That is still there. The ability to commit atrocities has not been removed from the game. Huzzah! The AI does seem to have a preference for team weapons like these. I'll admit that much. But yeah, the main reason is the campaign, to be honest. Like, if you wanted to ask me what I honestly thought of this, I would say it's a shiny new upgrade to Company of Heroes. It looks better, it's got a few quality of life things. It's Company of Heroes. And honestly, with some of the horrible remakes and remasters and terrible games out lately, just saying to me, you know what, this game? It's like the last game, with improvements. Jesus Christ, thank God for that. I was expecting Dawn of War 3 again. I was expecting it to be awful. No, this is good. This is great. I'm definitely going to have to upgrade my drivers when the full release comes out. But my only real criticisms, holy crap, that's just burnt a bunch of us. Get them out of there. My only real qualms with it are like, okay, I would like to be zoomed out more. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets modded in, or if they just change it in a patch. Can we get some tanks as well now? I would like some tanks. Let's get some grants. But yeah, it's the main reason that you would be getting this. Like I say, it's Company Heroes 2, new coat of polish, bit of a graphics improvement, and it is an improvement with the graphics. People are saying, oh, it's not that. Maybe the argument is it should have more of an improvement after 10 years. Maybe. But honestly, the main reason is the campaign, in all honesty. If you're wanting like a solid reason to get this over 2, the campaign looks to be much more like something like Total War. Yeah, if you're familiar with the Total War series or something, it's got a lot more in similar with that, a lot more in common with that than with previous Company of Heroes campaigns. Yeah, it's not just a series of set missions. It's a big, wide open campaign with a few set missions at certain points. Kind of like, again, Total War, how that would have set missions to get your commander's war gear or certain artifacts or whatever, or
CP is taking damage.
something like that. You know, but otherwise it's an open campaign, just fought in various skirmish matches as you upgrade things. It's a lot more similar to that than it is to anything else. Looks like they are about to actually get us here. We'll see. But yes, it's
The enemy is targeting our infantry.
that's kind of, yeah, just how it seems to be. And the campaign does look very good. It's very different, very new. I honestly think the best campaign they've ever done was Dawn of War 2. It was utterly fantastic, but this isn't bad. This is pretty good. Let's not bunch these up so I don't eat a grenade. I'm surprised we've held them at the bases for this long. It almost feels like a wave defense, this. But yeah, the the mod support that's going to be straight there from the off, just a bunch of stuff that they're doing with it, and it just irks me that people are so dismissive of, but it's not enough or something. What I would very much be worried about with this, because the reason why I mentioned that they've come out of, this has been done with COVID, they've changed publisher, a lot's happened. It wouldn't surprise me if this is, because this is a new version of their engine, I believe, and we look at Dawn of War 3 and the features that was missing. It wouldn't surprise me if after THQ they've maybe they didn't like have the access to their old code or something, or maybe it's just that they've been trying to upgrade the engine and they're lacking key members that have left during the past 5 or 6 years or so due to, again, COVID, changing publisher, that sort of thing. It wouldn't surprise me. And you've got to remember it's been a while. I think the game's just chugging now because the game's gone on too long. It's getting a bit much for it. Bit much going on. But my big worry would be, because this is why I think's happened. I reckon that they've either lost members or not had access to all their code from the previous versions or something. They've been upgrading the engine, they've had to probably port it all onto the new engine to get everything going, and it's probably just missing things that used to be there, that used to work, that used to be features. It's probably just not there anymore, and they're unable to recreate it. These things can happen when you change companies and lose key development members. It wouldn't be surprising to me if that was partly the reason as to why Dawn of War 3 was as it was. But with this, they've managed to get most of it there and a few new things, a few new features. The campaign seems to be a lot better from the snapshot that they've handed out. I see no reason why this isn't a good game. Like, if I were to buy this, I would... We'll see what it's like at release, but I would probably give it like an 8 out of 10. Based on what I've seen, that's what I'm expecting. Oh, can we not drop this even in our own territory? Ugh. Looks like we're about to go. We'll call it there. Again, apologies for the sloppy play, but I was more bothered about, getting some zoomed in shots of things. I've not really played much against the AI, so I didn't know really. I probably should have put 3 standards on each side and then just added myself in and just acted almost as an observer probably while that were going off and just shelled a few things. But you begin to get my point, and the thing that I will show you in terms of like, because again the big worry for me would be if this didn't do well, because they had to do Age of Empires under Microsoft as a contract worker to get back to this stage after Dawn of War 3. Yeah. My worry would be with, would Relic go under if this did poorly? Would be my worry. I'd hate to see such a thing happen, or for them to go back as, you know, they're going to be a contractor, you know, doing off, you know, odds and ends for other, for other publishers for another, you know, 5 or 6 years before we see another game from them. I'd hate for that to happen. And again, and I can probably quickly show you here, because we can just go here, Company of Heroes 2, store page, keep in mind what you've just seen, and we just scoot on over, and as you can see, so yeah, but that looks blurry to me a little bit. You can see like the tracks, the track prints on it, and that, I think the snow textures in particular aren't too great anymore. The tanks, they're beginning to look, and you can kind of see here, like the uniforms aren't much like that. The uniforms on the soldiers aren't bad compared to the new ones, but the textures in particular, like when you look at the actual environment stuff here, there's been an improvement. Yeah. Ground textures in particular are a lot better now. Like these are low resolution. They are, right? And here it's I will admit there's a massive difference from 1 to 2, and even more so between 1 and 3. But between 2 and 3, it's not. I admit it's not a crazy difference. But I do think like the textures on the tanks look a bit better, you know. And things like that. The fire certainly looks better now. Like all that heat distortion, and hell, it might be a bit too good. It's working my card again, though. I do need to get my drives up to date. I think it's getting a bit. I usually do it every 6 months or so. But I will admit, I'll miss those weather effects, but people hated those so much they got turned off during ranked gameplay anyway. People hated those. I will miss the Russian faction, but we are getting the Africa Corps, so it's not all bad. We are getting 4 distinct factions from the off, and again, I think the tanks do look better now. Texture-wise, model-wise, I think everything model-wise looks better. I think the buildings and ground textures in particular are much more improved. This is a good one. Like you can see the destroyed ground, and that looks just like a grey smear, to be honest, with some bits of rubble drawn on it. Not bad for 10 years ago. Not great for now. Yeah. Like someone's just taken a low resolution sort of grunge texture and just smeared it on things to make it look a bit blackened. The particle effects, the smoke was always pretty good, and it still is, and the muzzle flashes and the sparks and that, but fire in particular wasn't great. And as you can see, it's in our new version now, it's much better. That's the old Panzer tank. That'll give you a bit of a better idea of what the tanks used to be, since we've seen some Panzer tanks there. But I think that's like the main thing that's getting leveled at it, that the graphics aren't an incredible change. And you look at the original, I mean, God, I can see the lines on that gun. That is not round, that is like a hexagon, like a hexagonal barrel. Like immediately it's lacking anti-alias, and you can tell that. The ground texture is poor. and that sort of thing. The building destruction is much more improved. The wrecks don't just look as bad anymore, and we're pointing out like the side skirts and things falling off, and that's kind of the reason why I'm just pointing out it's and that's kind of why I'm just doing this look at it all, because my big worry with this is it's getting a lot of flack for apparently I honestly think like no particular reason. I think if this game fails, we will not see a fourth, is my worry. And given that they've looked at 2, they've looked at Dawn of War, and they've gone, right, we'll get back to our old gameplay. We'll not try anything crazy and out there like we did with Dawn of War 3. We're going to get back to our roots. We're going to get in all the old features and some new quality of life improvements, which they have. They've vastly improved the campaign, and that's the big selling point. If you're wondering what justifies this being a new game, it's the campaign. It's a lot better. I'd look at it at launch. I don't know if it's actually co-op. It might be, but that would be interesting if it were. I think that would definitely be worth a play then with friends. But just giving you the freedom to kind of tackle it on your own and use different units and things. The campaign just does. It looks a lot better. Better than just, you know, mission 1, mission 2, mission 3 and these set things. You've now got your own battalions and squads that go through the campaign with you, and they take casualties, and you have to let them replenish and things, and you give them upgrades as they go and gain veterancies and things. I like that. Company Heroes 2 did get something similar as a DLC in the, I think it was called the Ardennes Assault. It was when they added the Americans in. It was pretty good, and they seem to have gone back to that sort of style but improved upon it vastly. But yeah, honestly, it's what you want from a sequel. It's like the others, but better. Yeah. The graphics, okay, it's not, you know, it's not the biggest improvement in the world, but honestly, I don't need like ray traced, you know, tank explosions. It'd be nice, but I'm just wanting to play Company Heroes again, and it's been 10 years, and my god, if this helps Relic get back on their feet and off their knees, it'd be my pleasure to. But it's up to you. All the footage is up on the channel. There's hours of it if you're interested. It's all there. It's in playlists for you to sift through. It's up to you what you reckon to it. But that's just what I found with it. And I think that a lot of the flack that's been thrown at it, it's nitpicks. It's like, the guns sounded bassier. Oh, the tanks are coming out of the factory. And again, that's the daftest thing I've heard. The stupidest thing. The tanks come out of the factory and look too clean. I mean, it's like, yes, they look factory new because you can literally see the factory in your damn base, you moron. They're there. It's rolling out. You can see it. I can see it building them. And they take damage as they actually get damaged. Like, that's an improvement in my eyes, you know. I would actually like more pristine maps that are just full of stuff that I can blow up, because then it'll look way cooler at the end of the game, because I'll know what each of those craters was, you know. Like, they've still got the full destructibility they always have had. Anyway, just a bit of a review of my first looks of the game, my first impressions, and a bit of a rant at just a few snipes I've seen just getting levelled at the game for, I can't think of all, but people just being petty with it. But yeah, it's Company Heroes, slightly better graphics, not crazy better, but it's not like they're the most important thing in a strategy game. You know, it's the gameplay, and they've always had good gameplay, and that gameplay is back. In the single player, you can even do a tactical pause now, if it's, you know, you want something a bit slower speed. And the campaign does seem to be the big selling point for this new game. That seems to be, like, the multiplayer is mildly improved with new quality of life improvements. It has some new it's got a new faction, new units, different things added to it, bit rebalanced, less artillery focused. The tanks are a bit easier to squash. The tanks are a bit squishier. Someone doesn't just buy a tiger tank and win. Whether you think that's a good or bad thing, I guess, is up to you. But in my experience, it's just, the balance is just different. That's all. And I'm sure the meta will get established and people will get to grips with it once it's been out for a few weeks. But it does. It seems like all the new changes within this campaign, that's the big reason to buy it. They seem to have taken a if it's not broke, don't fix it approach to the multiplayer. And honestly, again, after Dawn War 3, I think that is the right thing to do. Because they've not done wrong. The multiplayer, the worst thing you can say is it's too much like the second one. But, that's good. It's good that it's like number 2 and like number 1 because I want to play Company of Heroes, not something else. But that's, I think, everything I've wanted to say about it. But again, all of the footage of everything that I've done is on the channel. There's the campaign gameplay, there's the multiplayer gameplay, and honestly, I've been having a lot of fun with it. The playtest is about to end, I think, like literally sometime tomorrow morning, so that's going to be all that's on the channel from now until the release. I will most certainly, highly likely, be doing a playthrough of the campaign for the channel. Do turn up and stay around for that. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be playing a bit more competently since I won't be trying to narrate everything and get like zoomed in, screenshot worthy pics of things for me, for review purposes and that here. I won't be doing this basically. I might actually win next time. Other than that, yeah. I mean, again, my biggest problem is I can't zoom out more. I wish I could. I think even for me, I know that on Company Heroes 2 I was a bit surprised I couldn't zoom out more. On this, I can't zoom out very much at all. It is a bit like, why is my camera so far zoomed in? I would like to zoom it out more. I think they do need to do a bit of a performance pass, particularly on the particle effects. They seem to cause a lot of lag. And there's lots of stuff sparking off of vehicles and ammo cook-offs going. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully this maybe puts into light a few things, quirks and things about the game that you thought, maybe it'll affect your purchase of it. But for me, I will, as I mentioned, I'll be getting it and playing it on the channel. I look forward to it. It's been a while since I've been in, not just even been able to play a good Company of Heroes game, a good strategy game. Like, Jesus Christ, people do not make enough real-time strategies anymore. And when they do, God, they're so generic. It's just like, hey, you get a bunch of units and just right-click them around the map. There's no team weapons and facing isn't important. I mean, the best strategy game I've seen since Company of Heroes 2 is probably Iron Harvest, which wasn't bad. It had some really cool mechs and things. The gameplay was a bit slow and the multiplayer died within a month, but really cool though. But there's just been nothing around really since Company of Heroes 2. You only thing you can get even close is like Total War, which is not really a, let's be honest, it's not really a real-time strategy. It's like, yeah, you command units in real time in like skirmish fights and that, but it's not like base building and stuff. It's been a long while since we've had a really good AAA real-time strategy like this, and I would hate to see everything go under because people thought that, the graphics hadn't improved enough since the previous one, and that a few minor features were missing, even though they've added a bunch of additional ones. I don't know. Right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in future videos, hopefully when I do a campaign of this. Otherwise, I think there's currently ongoing, there should be, I think after this I'll be doing, I've recorded a series of Age of Darkness, where I'm going to be revisiting that. There's also Unexplored 2 ongoing on the channel, and other things to come. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later on.